Joining us right now on Texans Radio, it's the head coach of your Texans, David Culley. Coach, the last dance of 2021. Welcome. So how do you think it went? I know it ended not the way you wanted it to, but you were making a big run in the second half of the season finale, and it was fun to watch.
Well, Mark, the thing about it was we went into that game saying we wanted to end this thing the right way. Obviously, in the first half, it wasn't going the right way for us. And obviously, when we went into halftime, I want everybody to know this now. I really had nothing to do with that change in the second half because I said very little when I went in there because I didn't know what to say. Mm-hmm. All I know is they came back out, and all I said is that's not how we wanted to start this first half. Let's end the second half. We got 30 minutes left. Let's end it the right way. Now, the right way was to get a win, but I felt like they went out there and they did everything possible, offensively, defensively, and special teams, to give us a chance to win the ball game.
Coach, that second half was it's maybe the best 30 minutes I've seen you play. You scored 25 points in the second half. You hold them to 7. You have the 3 and out you held them to in the third quarter. And you're on the verge of another 3 and out, and then Tannehill gets away from you at that point. I know how coaches think. How much have you seen that one back over, that one play? How much do you run the game back over your head when it's done?
Well, I'm going to say this about that play, John. He made a great play on that particular play. And that's not the first time he's done that during his career.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of those things where as I've looked at it a number of times, and I'm saying, what could we have done? The tacklers did everything they could to get him down. That wasn't the first time, and it probably won't be the last time. I hope the last time against us.
Yeah.
But he made a tremendous play at that moment, which actually was a big turning point in the game. And then he came back, I think, in that same series and made a big throw down the middle of the field to get him in position to get a touchdown. But, when you look at those things, that's just a good football player making a good football play. And it wasn't anything that I think we didn't do. That's the NFL. Yeah. That's the NFL.
Coach, you mentioned it in your press conference about going up tempo and the difference that made. And can you discuss that a little bit for us? Because it looks like Mills is really comfortable operating under that setting, at least at this point, after having some experience.
Well, the reason I even thought about it, Mark, was that he had been done very well for us during our 2-minute situations, which is similar tempo, except the clock is not an issue. So we're really not in a hurry, but we are at the line of scrimmage. Tim's calling the plays into him, and he just felt comfortable doing that. And then obviously in that situation too, we were 3 scores down, so we weren't going to be able to run the ball. We needed to get something going. We needed to get some quick scores, and he was able to execute it. Our offensive line and our whole offense did a nice job of just executing and doing what we needed to do, and he made some nice throws, and our guys made some big plays on it.
Coach, throughout this year at halftime, you obviously you've been down at times, but not like yesterday. You're down 21-0. When you get the touchdown from Davis to Chris Moore and make it 21-7, how much did that sort of change the vibe on the sideline, if you will? That hey, look, we got the score we needed to get this thing going. What was kind of the vibe on the sideline at that point once you got it to 21-7?
Well, the thing that happened when we first came out is that we got to stop.
Yeah.
And then when we got the touchdown, that was a huge momentum swing in our favor because our guys knew right then that because that drive that they had, it wasn't like they did anything wrong, the Titans did. Right. I mean, there was well done, is executed the right way. We got the touchdown. You could feel it on the sideline. And then, again, that was a big lift for our defense, to be able to all of a sudden now we got to score. But when we came out, all we talked about was taking one play at a time, one drive at a time, and let's just see what happens. And they did that, and they did that to perfection, and it was good to see. And as you just mentioned too, that was no question the best second half that we've had this year. And it was good to see, and it was good to be able to end it that way. And I think that's all. Not only that, it's good momentum for us going into the next season.
Coach, we talk about the young guys a bunch, and we will, but a couple of the old guys came up big for you. Danny Amendola drank something from the fountain of youth or whatever. The guy looked like he was 23 years old running around out there. What about his performance in the second half?
Mark, you talk about him drinking that fountain of youth. Listen, he acts like he's 23 years old. He thinks he's 23 years old sometimes, and he's definitely played like it yesterday. But I'm not surprised. Danny's a football player. He comes from a football family. Daddy's a coach. He loves the game. And again, I get so much motivation and get so excited when he's on the field and on the sideline, because he's always looking at me and saying, "Coach, we got this," because that's how he is, and he knows how I am. And, I've got a little history with Danny. So it was really good to see him perform the way he did, and he helped us put ourselves in a situation to win the ball game with some huge plays yesterday.
Coach, Davis Mills goes in at halftime of the Cleveland Browns game. He then starts yesterday. I don't even know what number start that was, but for a rookie, how far has he come? What did you see? What's kind of the biggest thing you saw from Davis as it pertains to his improvement, and what would you like to see him improve on even more as he goes forward in his career?
Well, the thing that he's done is, and he knows this, is you got to protect the football.
Sure.
I say this every week, and as he came to start for us later on, after we gave him the starting job, is the one thing that he did was he protected the football.
Yeah.
And I think as he played more and more in our drop back game, he got more comfortable in doing what we were doing, and he just progressed. Tim and Pep did a great job with him of giving him the right stuff and making him feel comfortable. And we've also, John, allowed him to give us some feedback to what you're comfortable with in what we're doing. And normally with a rookie, you don't do that, but obviously we did that simply because we wanted him comfortable doing what he was doing. And basically yesterday in the second half, he was very comfortable with everything that we were doing. And obviously he executed it very well with our entire offense.
Well, Coach, without getting into future plans with him or anything, we could see it even in the press conferences how he's sort of grown into the role of starting quarterback. And it seems like the way his teammates talk about him, at least publicly, you feel that as well. Take us behind the scenes and what you're seeing from him in that department, just being around him in the locker room and the meeting rooms and things like that.
Well, the thing that's happened with him is when he first came in here, having Tyrod, who is a pro's pro with preparation and whatnot, he picked up on a lot of things about how to prepare, being the first in, being the last out, watching the video, but understanding what you're watching in the video. And basically what our players now have seen from him with all the starts that he's gotten, you're starting to see him smile a little bit more. And why are you seeing him smile? Because he's a little bit more comfortable. Yeah. He's starting to understand what we're doing, and that's just from the experience. And, he has a calmness about him, which I really like. And, he understands that he has a long way to go, that we're not anywhere near close to where he needs to be for us to be what we need to be. But he's progressing very nicely, and he gets better and better. And I said this before, too. He's not a repeat defender when it comes to doing things the wrong way. He does things one time the wrong way. He's going to get it right the next time.
Coach, can you sense how veterans feel about him? Because you've seen many players over the years. Veterans are like, okay, let's see what you got, rookie, before I dive in fully. I saw yesterday in the hallway after the game, I saw Malik Collins, defensive player, defensive line, doesn't seemingly do a whole lot with the offense, but he walked up to Davis, kind of shook his hand, and I was kind of just reading body language. You could tell he was telling Davis, kind of stick with it. But it felt like when he got back in the start, had some success, it kind of felt like the vets were like, all right, young buck, I kind of see what you're doing. Did you kind of sense that Davis was kind of earning the respect of the older guys on the team?
Well, to get respect, you have to earn it.
Yeah.
And as a quarterback, how do you earn it? You earn it by scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
You earn it by taking care of the football. You earn it by doing the right things to help your team win football games. And he started to do that.
Yeah.
And then, like yesterday, for example, everybody on that sideline felt like if we'd have got that ball again, that he would have helped us get that ball in the end zone with the way he had played for the whole second half. And that's earned, John. Just like you said, that's earned from what he's done. Not what he said, but it's for what he's done and how he's preparing and how he's doing things. And they see that.
Yeah.
Remember now, he's the quarterback.
Yeah.
And you know what's expected of that position, regardless of whether you're a rookie or a 10-year vet.
Right.
That's your job.
John mentioned what the defense did with the 3-and-outs, 3 consecutive 3-and-outs to start the second half. And after the way the first half ended, that was huge for them to come out like that, Coach, right? Because you're down 21-0. You got to have to go in the season no matter what happens. And they really played well coming out of the locker room.
After we got the first stop, when they had the ball and we got the ball and we scored, if I remember correctly, they got to stop again. We scored on every of those possessions that we had. which was huge because that's, again, I'm going back to momentum.
Yeah.
I mean, that they knew. And we talked about it on the sideline. Just get us a stop, we'll get a score. Get us a stop, we'll get a score. And it actually happened. And the beauty of that is when you see those guys on the sideline believing in what you're doing, the reason they believed is because what they saw. We knew that they needed to get a stop, they got it. They knew we needed to score if they got a stop. And we were able to do that. And again, that's an earned respect that you get.
Coach, you came into this job and you said defensively, we had 9 turnovers, 9 takeaways in 2020. We got to go take the ball away. If there's something that you did this year better than anything else, it was you went and got the ball away, with the one exception of yesterday when the ball comes out and you couldn't get on. You couldn't get on that one, but all throughout the season you were able to take the ball away. It became a huge focus for you, for Lovey, for the defensive staff. As you look back on it, how proud are you that you set that goal to go get the football and then you went and did it throughout the season?
Well, they practiced that. That's been a Lovey Smith trait from all of his years of coaching in this league, head coach, defensive coordinator, and their staff. They not only just talk about it. We go out and we practice that in practice. They practice doing those things. They practice anytime the ball's on the ground, whether it's a fumble or not a fumble or an incomplete pass. They're always picking up the ball. So there's something to that. And they did a heck of a job this year of doing that. I don't know how many they got, but I know they got a bunch.
Yeah.
And it was good to see, and it was very important for us to be able to do that. And in the games that we didn't get the turnovers, the thing is that offensively, then you just need to be able to move the ball and score, just like we didn't get them yesterday.
Yeah.
But the fact was our offense was having a good second half, and so when you can just keep having the big plays and keep doing those kinds of things, then good things happen.
Coach, what about these meetings you have with the players after the season is over, going into the offseason? What are they like, these exit interviews? Take us through one of those, and what kinds of things do you share with them, and what wisdom do you impart with them?
Well, the first thing we do is we tell them how proud I am or we are of how they stayed the course this year. And that's each and every one of them. And then individually, depending on what position they play, we talk about what you need to do to improve. Talked about what you did that was very, very good this year, and what do we need to do moving forward to get better. And all those conversations are usually short and sweet, and usually what I do is I'll tell them to give me back some feedback, and they'll give me back some feedback, and then we just kind of go at each other right there and just kind of figure out that what we need to do to get better. And I do that basically with the entire football team.
Coach, no team, high school, college, pro, nobody comes back the same exact way from one year to the next. But you at least have these exit meetings to say to somebody, thank you, goodbye. I mean, we always talk about this. We don't. The guys are just here, we see them, and then they're gone. How tough is that, the fact that what you had in 2021, some guys you're very, very proud of, a lot of those guys you won't see in 2022. It's a completely different team. How, as a coach, how do you come to grips with that?
That's part of being in the NFL. Every team changes.
Yeah.
And when the season's over, there's going to be guys that's played great for you that's not going to be back. There's going to be guys that aren't under contract that's somewhere along the line may end up getting a better contract someplace else.
Right.
But that's part of the business.
Yeah.
And you understand that. And basically what ends up happening is we do everything we can to keep the guys that we feel like we need to keep.
Yep.
And if it's best for them to go someplace else and to earn a living and to have a chance to do what they want to do, then that's fine. That's no problem, But, that's part of what we do. This league is ever changing. It changes every year.
Yeah.
Coach, in general, what's the best way to improve in the offseason before you get back to conditioning and in the meetings and everything you're going to do starting mid-April or whenever that might be? You're Davis Mills, you're Nico Collins. You want to get better at your craft. Maybe you can go throw with some guys or whatever. You review tape. What do you do to get better?
All of those things you just mentioned. Speaking of a quarterback and receiver, they'll eventually at some point, and we just told them right now for about another week or two, get away from this. Yeah. Get away from football, period. Mm-hmm. And just kind of recharge and, kind of reinvent yourself again, to kind of refresh. And then after that, you come back and, like I said, in those exit meetings we talked about what you need to do and improve. And in their particular case, talking about those particular two guys, Davis and Nico, is that they'll end up getting together. They'll set up times where they will throw, where they will watch video together, where they would sit down and talk about, look over this past year's video and look at things and see where they can get better, and then they'll go out on the field and work on those things and get better at doing that, and that will end up serving them well moving forward.
Coach, this is for you, the coach, and for coaches, and for also the players too. What's more difficult to recover from, the physical grind or the mental aspect that you have to go through, the mental exhaustion you have to go through? Which is the more difficult one to try and get through, to try and recover from the quickest?
That's a good question, John. The thing about it is that from the physical standpoint, win, lose, or draw, that's there.
Yeah.
And you know what? There are things you can do when you come back with the whirlpools, with all the stuff to get yourself right.
Yep.
But the mental part of it, that mental toughness part of it, after wins, it's a little bit easier than, say, after a loss, because after a loss, it hits you a little bit differently.
Yeah.
You kind of let it linger a little bit longer, and so that's why I felt like as a coach, after a win, it's so much easier for me to get things done, corrected after a win, because they're more receptive to listening to what's happening. After a loss, I mean, they're still thinking about some of the things that they did.
Right.
They won't let some things go simply because it's bothered them.
Yeah.
And so, but after losses, the mental part of it is very tough to be able to kind of get them back into that positive frame of mind and move forward. You got to be able to let it go.
In the offseason, for you, once you hit the offseason, season's over, it's done. You talked about getting away from it for a couple weeks. Will you do the same, kind of mentally kind of check out, even if you're here physically, we'll try and mentally check out to just get that part away, if you will, to just, like for your players, you and your coaching staff do the same thing?
Well, as coaches, we say we check out, but we never really check out.
Right.
But I will say this, though.
Right.
I will get away for a while.
Yeah.
I won't look at any football. I'll look and see what scores are. But for the most part, we'll get away. We need to refresh too as coaches, just like we want them to refresh. Yeah. But our refreshing is not quite as long as what theirs are.
Yeah, but what's the first thing you work on, Coach? Is it game evaluation, how the games were played, or how the individual players performed and what you need to see out of them moving forward, because you have some guys up for free agency or whatever, you have decisions to make?
It's a combination of both, Mark. But the first thing we'll do as a staff, offensively and defensively, and with our special teams, is we'll go back and we'll look at every play that we ran this year, and we'll evaluate it from A to Z on why it didn't work, why this play was a good play, why it was not a good play, why it didn't happen. And we do the same thing with our players. We evaluate our players. We write them up. We make evaluations about them, about how they played and moving forward, about where we see them moving forward. But it's a combination of both of those.
How thankful are you that you're not hitting the road recruiting this week?
John, unbelievable. I'm telling you right now. It's this is a wonderful life right now, coaching in the NFL when it comes to off season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So, Coach, a couple of other things to get to here, because it is a long off season, and you're going to turn the page into 2022. The draft is coming up, all of that kind of stuff. How does everybody collaborate to work on that together? Because when you got here last year, it was a hit-the-ground-running process. Now you have a bunch of players that you worked with for the entire campaign. So how do you go about that?
Nick and our scouting department has been working from day one when this season started on evaluating all the draft picks. Every week they evaluate potential free agents on other teams. It never stops. It's been going on. And so now at this point when the season is over, they've actually got a big book on everybody that's going to be eligible for the draft, everybody that's eligible for free agency, and we'll end up sitting down at some point and go over all of those and make evaluations and kind of rank those guys and see where they are, and then to be able to make a decision on when free agency comes and when the draft comes. But that work has been done from the day one. It started in training camp. They started looking at video on colleges, looking at video on all the NFL teams that we play against, and writing up evaluations on it.
Coach, what's the one thing that before you became a head coach, now that you've been a head coach, that you look back and go, whoa, I did not see that coming, or that being as important, or I didn't see that as part of this? I'm sure you had an idea of what head coaches do. You've been around the game for a long time. But then you sat in that chair. Is there one thing you went, oh, man, holy smokes, I didn't see that coming?
There's not really one thing. There's a few things that came up that I didn't foresee coming. But the point is, when you sat in this seat at this level, the one thing I was told way back when by a number of coaches that I've worked with is that in this league, there is no surprises. Yeah. I mean, and don't ever be surprised by anything that happens.
Right.
If you are, you're in the wrong business. And then, they ask, well, why this particular things happen? You don't need to know why. They do it because they can.
Yeah.
So basically, there's really just anything that happens, I expect it to happen. And when it happens, you deal with it. Yeah. And you deal with it and make a decision what's best for the team and make a decision on what you want to do moving forward with that particular decision.
All right, as a coach, I'm going to ask you, and Johnny's been asking people this too, like, give me a couple of moments of the year that are going to stand out to you. Now, as a coach, I could imagine maybe something happened on a Wednesday practice where somebody finally gets a block right, and for you, that's a teaching moment. That could be the moment of the year. But what can you share with us about that, Coach?
Well, the first thing for me was the first game of the year against Jacksonville, getting a win.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the way we played, I mean, that was one of those moments where I'm sitting there saying, hey, look, this is pretty easy, and then you realize moving forward that was just one game. And then I'll go back to I felt like this year in our Chargers game, I was getting ready to say San Diego, but our Chargers game, I felt like in that ball game, I felt like all three phases of our football team played the way that I felt like we need to play consistently to be the team that we need to be. And I think those two moments I think about all the time. And I know, and I go back to the Chargers moment and saying, okay, how do we get to this point? What happened that all things fell into place? Playing a playoff team, playoff caliber football team at that time, and then it all fell into place. And that moment during the course of that, when that was over with, I remembered that.
I thought you were going to say halftime interviews with me, Coach. I mean, maybe that's number 3. I don't know.
Maybe down a
bit.
Hey, John, this past halftime interview we had wasn't really very good fun that we had.
Listen, Coach.
I wish I'd have got you afterwards,
Yeah. Turn it around,
I
though.
appreciate it, though. It was always great.
Coach, thanks a lot for the visits. We really appreciate it. Best of luck this offseason.
Appreciate both of you, too, also.